Okay, so excuse me. This is for WiccaGem. Hey. um, okay, so Lilith. My personal thoughts on Lilith are that basically most of my thoughts come from a lot of Luciferian or satanic magic perspective, in that she was the first wife of Adam, and she was later booted from the garden for wanting to be equal, which he didn't want, which Jehovah didn't want, and so she was later pretty much booted out. And so she later went on and she connected, or not connected, she went on and had children with Samael. Now, my thoughts are kind of scattered. It's been a really weird morning. But her children are known as the Lilitu, and I view them as incubi and succubi demonic entities. Not demonic, but demonic. Because they're genius spirits, though they can be utilized by a magician for either their own desire or to go and copulate or have congress with other people if created by the magician or witch to basically go out. And I've read it utilized as a weapon against enemies, though I haven't personally used it as such. And oh, we're getting onto that. But Lilith is a goddess of sexuality, liberation, and freedom. Now, personally, I don't always work with Lilith. I'll call her sometimes, and yes, re- I will call her, and she actually didn't come to me, so to speak, as let's say my Santissima Muerte did. Right, there's one statue that's not my altar, but it's a statue that didn't fit on my altar, so it's up there. um, but Lilith, whenever I've called her and worked with her, I've had no problems with communication. Things were done greatly. I achieved great insight. I actually have a representation I keep with her on not my main altar, which is my Santissima Muerte altar, but where I work a lot of other magics with, I guess you could call it satanic or whatever you wish to desire, though I don't really put a label on it. The entities that I work with include Lilith, but I keep this representation. It's statuary, but it's for the wall, and I use this to represent her. And yes, there's torches, but no, she's the torch isn't necessarily a symbol of her, though I do use it because she can bring about insight and illumination of the mind and many other things. And the wings, to me, with her, usually I've seen her depicted with owl feet, though the statue does not have owl feet, it has regular feet. But the wings to me represent freedom, which is something she's really big on to me. Now, everyone can go have their own opinions about all this, but the freedom she represents is to not hold yourself down, to not be burdened by another, to take control of yourself and your life for everything you are able to achieve. Lilith is the great liberator. She despises that which holds her down, as I've heard Venus Satanis say here on YouTube, and I agree with her. Now, I'll primarily work with her on matters like more and like I keep going back on the freedom, and I know I sound like a broken record at this point, even though it's only 4 minutes in. But when you desire to be free of something and to conquer it, I'd call on her if I'm working with my, I guess, like I said, satanic type of witchcraft. But she's also very helpful to me in the matters of accepting yourself and accepting who you are on the inside rather than letting everyone else judge you. She's very, very assertive, I guess you could say, in that aspect. And she doesn't care what people think, to me, anyways. She's the one who has pride. She's the one who will show truth. She's the one who doesn't sugarcoat shit. And I've worked with her, like I said, with getting over things, accepting things, needing insight on things, but I've also worked with her with sexual magic. Now, I've learned techniques through Book of the Witchman by Michael Ford, and I utilize that as a technique in everyday life, as well as when I am having intercourse with someone else. Let's say she grants me insight and knowledge about something. So I'll ask her to put, not all, because I wouldn't say she completely comes into me, but I'll ask her to like make a link with me and her, so that way she can take part in the act and take energy from the act as a sort of a offering, I guess you could say. And I'll usually do that when I'm with a guy and, well, I'm the more submissive role, I guess you could say. But she's not someone to easily just pick up and throw away. You don't do that to her. You acknowledge her, you respect her. Now, I don't devote myself to her because I am devoted to Santísima Muerte, but I have seen no conflict. And me as a male, I see no conflict in me working with her, doing spell work with her. I will work with her whenever I feel the need to, and if she's willing to, it works. If she's not willing to, I won't push the matter because I have respect for her and what I've found she stands for personally. And so, what else can I say? If you want to go more into the legend of her, you can go back with what I began with at the beginning. I know this is all over, and I'm sorry about that, but my thoughts are like today. Anyways, so the how I view her legend was with her being Adam's first wife and her being basically booted from the garden for not wanting to do what he wanted. She wanted to be equal. And so they booted her, and she later went and hooked up with Samael, who is later equated with Lucifer, the devil, Satan, in Christian mythos. However, I view them as very strong entities with that are basically like deities to me, and I acknowledge them and I have much respect for them. And so when she hooked up with him, she started having the Lilipu, or her children, and she later went back to the garden and possessed Eve, and Samael consummated a congress with Eve while she was under possession of Lilith, and that is where the son Cain, who killed Abel later on, came about and was the child of Adam and Eve through Eve's body, I guess you could say, even though it was Lilith and Samael's child, who later killed Cain, and he was later banished. Now, most of this is from Luciferian Witchcraft by Michael Ford, because I really agree with a lot of the legend within that book about this. And he later went into the desert when he was left or booted from being with his family. And he underwent, I guess you could call it a form of initiation, as I remember from reading. And what happened then was he met with his mother Lilith in a cave after many days of traveling and going through the desert. And oh, excuse me, I thought I was gonna burp. And so through his meeting with, that was coming up again. I did. And again, through his meeting with Lilith, he also met Samael, his father, and he was, from my understanding, to be the first witch within the Luciferian perspective. And through that, many people use this mythos within their practice. Now, I may have a different viewpoint on it than most people or the general public, and people are not gonna like what I have to say, but this is how I view Lilith and the offering I give her and my communication with her. Now, those of us who are gay males and work with her, I don't see any problem with it, and I view gay males such as ourselves to be in balance with both our male and female sides, to where we're able to walk a middle road and gender has no role. Now, something jumping all the way off onto another thing in the Gay Wicca book, within by Bruce K. Wilborn, I believe it is, he discusses this in pretty good depth about how men can assume the role of a woman in ritual. And I forgot the term he used for this, but that is basically the sum of that. And when we're able to, it's because we realize the sacredness in that we are gay and we are in touch with both our male and female energies within us. We have a combination of both. Therefore, we are able to assume the role of either the male or female part in the ritual. Now, with that said, I think it may be easier, though others might have a different perspective on this or completely not agree with what I have to say, but that's their opinion and this is mine, and yeah. I think it can ease communication due to our female energy within us to be able to communicate and establish a connection and a relationship with female-only deities. I've worked with Hecate. I occasionally do work with Hecate still. Not all the time because I'm no longer devoted to her. But I still call her into my circle when I'm doing more, I guess you could call it left hand path magic. I don't know. I don't really put a label on anything. But I'll work with Hecate. I began working with Hecate when I first delved into witchcraft. And my practices have changed greatly, but I always have that love and respect for Hecate because she guided me for, let's see, I was 12 when I started. I'm now 20. 2011, I was, how old was I? Okay, let's see. I'm 20 now, so we're 2013, 2012, 2011. Around 16 or 17, I began working with Santissima Muerte in devotional acts, and it later led to her becoming my matron. Now, Hecate, like you said, works with a lot of gay males, and I found what you say to be true because, like you, I haven't come across anyone who's completely straight, I guess you could say, that works with her and solely her. Now, I have worked with her, but I've also incorporated Kernunos with Hecate. And hmm, Kernunos I see as a very gay-friendly god, just like Tezcatlipoca from the Aztec pantheon. Though I offered devotion to him, I never went full depth with him, just because he was there for a time and he left, and I'll call him back sometimes. And a lot that I found on him, it's hard to find information on different pantheons sometimes. Now, Lilith, there's tons of information out there. You can decipher what you find to be true within your own soul and your own practice. That was just from my perspective, but other queer-friendly deities like Tezcatlipoca, like Cernunnos, like Lilith, like Hecate, to me anyways, like Lucifer, like Satan, like all of them. Now, Satan, I know I said that. I view him as a thought form given life through collective belief of many people. I don't think he was this evil devil that pre-existed that just wants to thwart humanity. No, I view him as a spiritual thought form given life through collective belief. And he is an energy or entity, I guess you could say, that we are able to tap into. Now, I should do another video on that. Anyways, that is, I went off on a ramble and a bunch of tangents and my brains were scattered, but you can find whatever gems, pardon the pun, but you can find the gems of what fits for you and what you find to be true within this. And I hope it was helpful, and yeah.